I've shown you a lot of maps, some good and some bad, but these maps are not played as often as one map in particular. This final map review is of one that makes up the vast majority of games hosted on Battle.net. Many people don't like WarCraft 3, but they end up buying the game anyway just to play this single map. In fact, it could be considered its own standalone game. This is my in-depth review of it. Defense of the Ancients Allstars. Let's start with the basics. There are two teams of up to 5 players each, the Sentinels in the bottom left and the Scourge at the top right, each side having over 50 different heroes to choose from. There are 3 main paths between both bases. They are referred to as the top, middle, and bottom lanes. Every lane has 2 towers standing for each team, with a 3rd tower protecting the barracks in the team's base. There are also several areas in between the lanes that give you easy access around the map. Your base has several shops where you can purchase items and recipes for item creation, along with an additional shop just outside of your base with more powerful items for sale. In total, you have over 100 different items and recipes to choose from. Defense of the Ancients Allstars, or DotA for short, is a map that's usually played with a full house. Once you choose a hero, you have the option to swap heroes with another player or repick your hero at a cost. If you're new to this, don't expect to know how to use the hero right away. The tooltips are easy to read and understand, so you'll at least be able to figure out the basic usage of the hero within minutes. But to maximize the potential of the hero is another story. You also have to learn the capabilities of your opponents, so you know what to watch out for. This gives the map a very high learning curve. Since you only interact with a handful of heroes in every game, the things you learn in one game may not be applicable in the next. The items you choose to purchase play a key role in the outcome of the game. The basic items are combined with recipes to create more powerful items with higher stats, and in some cases, special abilities. Some items complement a certain hero's abilities better than others. For example, vanguards are better suited to tanks, heroes that are meant to absorb damage. Knowing what items go best with a hero, let alone figuring out the recipes for them, further increases the learning curve. One aspect of the gameplay that is not normally practiced in another map, or any other game for that matter, is the concept of denying. When a hero kills an enemy creep, the player receives gold for that kill, and any nearby allies will also receive some experience. By killing an allied creep when it's low on health, you effectively deny the other team that golden experience from the kill. It takes a lot of practice to be able to do successfully, but this will give you an advantage over the other team. Another aspect of the gameplay is ganking. When a hero goes missing from their original lane, players will type missing or MIA to indicate that a hero is unaccounted for. The terrain caters to this gameplay aspect by providing lots of cover where heroes can lie in wait. When the opportunity is right, they come out in full force and kill whoever is there with overwhelming power. Not only do they earn golden experience from the hero kill, but the player who died will also lose gold. The respawn times for heroes are long, so they'll be losing out on opportunities to gain golden experience as well. Here's something else that is done differently from other AOS maps. When you destroy an enemy barracks or other unit-producing building, normally what would happen is the units no longer spawn, making it very difficult to push back the enemy in that lane. In this map, the enemy creeps will still spawn normally when you destroy a barracks, but your team will begin spawning in that lane what are called super creeps. This gives the other team a realistic chance to push back the lane, while still giving your team an advantage. Once all of the barracks are destroyed, your team will begin to spawn mega creeps. This is to prevent the game from dragging on needlessly. Bottom line, this map is a competitive team game. Any sort of realism, storyline, or special effects are kept to a minimum or thrown out the door completely for the sake of gameplay and competition. But you have to consider the sheer amount of content in the map. Over 100 heroes to choose from, and over 100 items and recipes to go along with them. How do you balance this? Well, the short answer is, you can't. DotA is continuously being updated, so any balance issues are always being fixed. The big problem here is the difficulty of spotting these imbalances. The metagame changes constantly, that is, the item builds, the popularity of the heroes, and the way these heroes are played are always changing. Of course, that doesn't stop some of the more creative players from experimenting with the underutilized heroes. What may be weak and unpopular at the present could turn out to be a game breaker 3 or 4 months from now. It's virtually impossible to have a balanced game of Dota, but fortunately in this case, that doesn't stop people from having a good time. Realistically, the average Dota player will only be proficient with a handful of heroes. There's a number of ways the heroes are selected for the game, all depending on the game mode. A single draft gives each player a random strength, agility, and intelligence hero to choose from. In the random draft, everyone takes turns choosing from a small pool of heroes. The all-pick mode allows you to choose any hero you want, whereas the random pick mode just gives you a random hero. When playing in tournaments, the captain's mode is used. This has both teams taking turns banning heroes from the game and selecting heroes for their own team. The bans are used to prevent the opposing team from using combinations of heroes they're good with. Even though many of the heroes have abilities with similar effects like stuns and slows, the difficulty of playing each hero varies greatly. Let's take a look at the two extremes. The Invoker is widely considered the most difficult hero to use effectively. His abilities consist of 3 elements and the Invoke ability. A combination of 3 orbs is summoned around the hero, and then the Invoke ability is used to create a spell based on that combination. This gives a total of 10 abilities that can be used, but you can only have 1 or 2 spells on the hero simultaneously. The spells you should be using depends on your team composition. The Invoker can be played in almost any capacity because of this, but it requires a lot of memorization and practice to get the most out of the hero. On the opposite side of the spectrum would be a hero like the Drow Ranger. She's an agility hero with frost arrows, silence, and 2 passive abilities. That's it. She's a very simple, very easy to learn hero with emphasis on high damage output. Get a few agility boosting items, turn on frost arrows, right click on an enemy hero, that hero is dead. Other than positioning and a little team coordination, that's really all there is to it. Of course, that doesn't mean a few simple heroes will make the game simple. Quite the opposite. The game is very complicated, and there are still a few more gameplay elements to make this even more complicated. Couriers are a special type of unit that delivers items to heroes. Instead of going back to your base to purchase items, the Courier allows heroes to stay on the field to continue gaining golden experience while still receiving the items they need. Usually, only one player from the team will buy this and share control of it with everyone else. But should the Courier die, the enemy team will get a hefty chunk of gold, while your team temporarily loses access to the Courier and any items being held. Once you've built up your hero with all the items you need, the gold you earn will continue to be useful in the form of buybacks. Should your hero die, your absence from the map while you respawn can potentially result in a loss. So in the late game when your hero dies, you can use your gold to get yourself back into the action quickly to prevent the other team from doing what they want. So when it comes down to it, Dota is not so much a game of heroes countering other heroes or having the highest kill-death ratios. It's a game of adding your hero's capabilities to the overall team effort. It's about keeping track of your enemies when you can't see them. It's about keeping the enemies' heads down, preventing them from becoming strong in the first place. Work towards gaining every possible advantage that you can, and you'll be better off later on in the game.